Hello, and welcome to the Ready, Set, Launch Mastermind's first annual virtual summit. I'm glad that you were able to make it to spend some time with us today. And looking very excited to learn more about our community and share with you what we're doing here in the community over the next week. Today, we're going to kick off our annual summit with our first session, which is a mindset masterclass about how to be a successful entrepreneur. And so fundamentally, my thought process is to be a successful entrepreneur, you have to think like an entrepreneur. So we're going to spend the next 30 to 40 minutes going through at a high level some of the things that you should have on the top of your mind as you're moving forward in your journey as an entrepreneur. So, a little bit about me. My name is Roddric Sims, and I am the founder and principal consultant for Sims Coaching Group. That's been up and running and supporting entrepreneurs for the last 10 plus years. I am a coach, consultant, and community builder for entrepreneurs, and I'm very excited to be here today with you to share what I know and what I've learned about being an entrepreneur and coaching entrepreneurs for the last, again, 10 plus years. In my coaching practice, I've connected with over 3,000 entrepreneurs in different formats from one-on-one group coaching and have seen 300 to 400 entrepreneurs I've worked with go on to launch successful businesses. So I'm definitely looking forward to sharing a lot of that information from what I have seen over the years. In addition to that practical experience, I also have an MBA focused specifically on entrepreneurship, which I was attained to be able to help consult and provide additional uh, production strategies to help my clients evolve and elevate their small businesses to really help them take it to the next level. So I'm looking forward to sharing that information with you as well. And I also am the founder of Sims Coaching Group Small Business Academy, which is an online e-learning platform that allows small businesses owners to learn at their own pace about what it takes to be successful from an MBA's perspective as an entrepreneur. Here are some, practical applications of those MBA theories to help you move your business forward. So, with all that being said, and that's enough really to talk about me, definitely want to get into the details of what's going to be happening today. So again, I mentioned to you before, we're going to spend about 30 to 40 minutes learning about what successful entrepreneurs need to have at the top of their mind as they're moving forward. There'll be some interaction. There'll be some questions. I'll have you think about a few different things. But again, as a webinar, I'm going to ask you to do some things on your end to take notes. But then at the end also, in the comments, feel free to leave some questions. And since this is a virtual seminar, we'll definitely follow up back up with you to get those answered. So with that being the case, ready, set, let's launch. All right. As most entrepreneurs start businesses or even decide on how to move their businesses forward, one of the biggest things I've seen in my experience is there is a need to use due diligence. So, thinking like an entrepreneur, a successful entrepreneur, truly begins with doing your due diligence. Now, I want you to take a few moments as we're going through this masterclass to think about what does that mean to you. When you hear the word due diligence, what are some things that comes to your mind? Okay, great. So hopefully you got those things in mind and maybe you've even written them down. So that's fantastic. But when I think about due diligence as far as entrepreneurs, there are a few things that come to my mind as well. So I'll share those with you. But to do the proper due diligence as an entrepreneur, it starts with being a student. They say you have to be a student of the game. Yes, you do. You got to know the rules of the game before you can win it. So, as an entrepreneur, you have to do your due diligence, and it starts with you actually being a student of whatever you're doing. It could be being a student of entrepreneurship. I went back to get my MBA to become a student of business so I could help business owners who don't have uh, the same credentials I have or the same experience to help them run their businesses better. So I became a student of entrepreneurship to help individuals. I also pride myself in saying I'm a student of success. And so I study success in several different areas because at the end of the day, success, there's certain virtues, and regardless if you're in business or if you're in politics or if you're in athletics, there's certain virtues of success that maintain and show that you're going to be help you be successful. And being a student uh, of whatever you're doing is one of those pieces of that puzzle. Also, when I think of being successful and entrepreneurs doing their due diligence, there's a need to do research. It's foundation, right? In order to be a great student, you have to be able to do great research. You have to understand what's going on around you and the dynamics. So if you're going to be launching a new product, well, you need to research that product. You need to research the market. You need to research to see if people actually need what you plan to sell. So research has to take place as you think as like an entrepreneur. You have to understand what you're trying to do for who you're trying to do it, what it's going to cost you. All those things goes into the research piece of it. And the other foundation of doing your due diligence, I say, is understanding the resources that you have as an entrepreneur. So if you're going to launch a new business or you're going to launch a new department or you're going to launch a new product, yeah, you've researched it and you figured it out, but now you have to understand, do you have the prerequisite resources in order to allow you to be as successful as you need to be with this new opportunity? So it's just not a matter of, have I done my research and can I get this done? And is it popular? Something that people want? Fantastic. But do you have the resources that's going to allow you to be successful in this new venture or as an entrepreneur or with this new product? So thinking like an entrepreneur begins with making sure you do your due diligence as a student of the business or the product or the industry you're going into, and utilizing research. And then after that research is completed, determining if you have the resources to make you successful with this new endeavor or venture. Now, before we move on to the next slide or the next topic, I want to reinforce again why due diligence is important. Research shows that the success rate for entrepreneurs with their first venture is only 18%. And I am a solid believer that it's only 18% because there's a lack of due diligence done by those entrepreneurs who are out there starting new business ventures. They're just not doing the appropriate research, due diligence. They're not evaluating their resources. So as we talk about thinking like an entrepreneur and being a successful entrepreneur, it's really about doing your due diligence, because that's going to allow you not to be in that 82% of entrepreneurs who they are not successful in their first venture. Again, only 18% are successful. And I'm sure those who do their diligence are the ones who tend to be more successful than those who don't. Now, we had a good conversation about why successful entrepreneurs have to do their due diligence. Now, after they do their due diligence, we identify that, hey, there's a need for them to have resources. And through your research, you figure out what those resources are. As you can tell, one of those major resources is what we're going to talk about next. And that major resource that successful entrepreneurs are required to have is investment capital. Now, once you know you have a good idea and confirmed it is worthwhile through your due diligence, there will be a need to invest in it to make it come true. Having enough money is one of the major concerns for any new venture, entrepreneur, small business owner, anyone that's trying to do something big. But most people think that they can run to the bank and get the money to start their businesses. Well, if you've done your research and your due diligence, you understand that going to a bank without some type of collateral or past track record of income, that's probably not going to happen. We'll have to get more into that later. But for now, let's talk about really what those investments may be in addition to just money. So before we go further with the money discussion, obviously there are additional investments you'll have to make. So take a few minutes to think those through and then jot those down in the comment section so we can review them and the community can review them and then even get a response from myself or maybe somebody else in the community that wants to jump in. But what are some additional investments that successful entrepreneurs are required to make into their businesses? All right, 2 more seconds to throw some comments in there. All right, great. So some of the investments required, I hope that our community came up with, were things about time is an investment into an entrepreneurial venture. The ideas you come up with are investment capital. Your work ethic that you put in to the business model or sweat equity is investment capital. Your personal resources that you utilize in order to leverage and grow your business are some of those personal of those investment capitals required. And there's several things that you can add into that, but those are some things that are additional sources of investment capital outside of money that you need to be considered when you're looking to be a successful entrepreneur. All right, well, with that being said, let's jump back into the actual money conversation, because obviously we got a big bag of money showing here. So if you didn't know, but we'll share with you that the average entrepreneur is required typically to invest about in their business to get it up and running. Now, that may sound like a little for some people, but it may be a lot for others. So that number obviously is relative depending on who you are, what you're trying to do, what your background is. Obviously, $10,000 is going to go a lot further in a home-based business than it would be in a tech startup. So, but this is just a number for small business owners, obviously. But that $10,000 has to come from somewhere. Now, where's that money going to come from? We already talked about how the bank is probably not going to give it to you without some type of collateral or proof that you're bringing in money. Well, that 82% of investment, well, that $10,000 of investment capital, uh, typically 82% of the time comes from what I call love loans. And what are love loans? Well, love loans are loans from people that love you, right? So that could be your family, obviously, hopefully they love you. That's your friends, hopefully you got some real close friends that love you. And then from yourself, I hope that you love yourself a lot because typically where most small business owners' investment capital comes from are their personal loans, their personal assets. It could be a second mortgage on the house. It could be money off from their retirement plan or their 401k. It could be money from their savings. But typically, that's where those funds are going to come from. So 82% of the time, when you're trying to find that $10,000 to get that small business going or that next venture moving forward, you're going to have to require to go and look at yourself and your resources for that investment capital to help you launch and become an even more successful entrepreneur. Now, before we move on, just want to reinforce what was that number? That or the percentage of entrepreneurs that come up with their own investment capital from those love loans, again, that number is 82% of the time. So basically, again, you got to reinforce, you need to look to yourself, your first, then your family and friends as you're looking to get that next small business venture up and running as an entrepreneur. All right, let's keep it moving now. In order to be a successful entrepreneur, the next concept we want to focus on is really discussing opportunity costs. So thinking like a successful entrepreneur has an opportunity cost. Now, when you are making decisions about what your next steps are going to be, what product you're going to bring to the market, what service you're going to launch, there's always going to be a trade-off. And that trade-off is going to be the opportunity to do something else. Most people have gone through life and have made different decisions. Some of the basic decisions that we all make are related to on what jobs we take. Because once you take that one job, you don't have the ability to take another job. So you give up the opportunity to work for somebody else typically when you take one job in one direction. But also as an entrepreneur, a lot of times when take that entrepreneurial path, you have to give up the opportunity to work a job. Or maybe your business is your side job until you have a full-time job and a side job, or your side job, then your side job becomes your full-time job. But regardless, there's going to be an opportunity cost that you're going to give up something. Now, when you're giving up that job, you are giving up maybe steady income, maybe benefits, um, you know, maybe a retirement plan, all the things that go along with having a job, which equals stability. But when you make that decision to go and become an entrepreneur, now you're creating the opportunity, you know, an opportunity to create more income, to build your own, to be your own boss, to not be limited, all the things that go along with having a job. But entrepreneurs understand those opportunity costs. Another decision, a lot of time, that's becoming more and more of a business decision regarding opportunity costs, especially for entrepreneurs, is furthering their education, about getting a degree. Getting an MBA or getting an undergrad degree can cost $20, $30, $40,000. You may have in student loans, if not more. Now, once you come out of school, you still have to pay those loans back, right? Student loans. There's numbers that show that for every $10,000 that you have in student loans, you're 5 to 10% less the chance that you're going to be able to start your own business. And why is that? Because you need to have money to be able to start the business, but at the same time you're paying back loans, so you have less ability to obtain money, maybe get loans because you have debt already up, so you can't won't allow you to get a loan. But then at the same time, you're paying back that money at the same time, so it kind of forces you to get that job, that steady income, so you can pay those bills. So sometimes, getting a degree, furthering your education, if not done wisely, can be an opportunity cost that limits your ability as an entrepreneur. But those are just some things you have to consider to be successful as an entrepreneur. But when you open your business and you're really out there making things happen, as we are in our community, there's a need and necessity to make decisions and understand the opportunity cost for any decision you make, because it's going to, take you away from doing something else. It's going to take your time away from doing something else, or your money away from doing something else, or your resources away from doing something else. There's always an opportunity cost with every decision you make as an entrepreneur. So have to keep that top of mind when you're making those decisions. We just want to make sure that you're making the best business decision and you're considering all those opportunity costs, because you're going to have to as you travel your path of entrepreneurship. And so everyone in our community definitely should be considering those opportunity costs. All right, before we jump to this next concept, let me step back. We just got through talking about opportunity costs. I want us all to benefit from this discussion. So I know we've all probably had to make some decisions that led to us giving away one opportunity. Take a few moments and jot down your biggest opportunity cost, your biggest trade-off you've had to make into the comment section so that we all can benefit from it as a community. All right, great. Now, after you've thrown those in the comment section, let's jump into this next discussion or next concept, which ironically is proof of concept. So, um, you prove basically your concept when someone actually buys your product or service. It means someone actually wants what you have created, and that could be a product, service, a company, whatever. But really, I always say, you know, do people really want what you have? Just because you have a great idea and you love it yourself does not necessarily mean other people are going to love it. And so before you can go and talk to investors or to a bank or even to your, friends and family, get those love loans we discussed earlier, they're going to want to know, that you've proved your concept in some form or fashion. Now, you're probably thinking maybe about tech companies who get millions and millions of dollars just on 2 or 3 pieces of paper because they have a great concept. Yes, that does happen. It does happen. But in our community, we're talking to small business owners. And so, as you know, that doesn't necessarily work for a small business owner to have a great idea because investors want to return 10, 20, 30, 40 times their investment in small business concept that can take place, but it's a little bit harder to sell those major angel investors on those type of items. So it's important that at all levels you have proof of your concept, but even more important for small business owners in our community, so that people really understand what we're doing and they know that hey, we actually have something that works. So what does it actually look like in application? Um, well, if you have a service, how many people have taken advantage of your service? If you see Shark Tank, they ask, hey, how many sales have you had? Wow, that's a easy way to prove your concept. They know how many people actually want to purchase it. How many clients do you actually have? How many customers do you normally get a day? You know, it all depends on, it's basically a lot of times it's a numbers game. You prove your concept based on a numbers game. So one person purchasing your product or service, that doesn't really prove a concept. That proves one person bought it. But if you can say 100, 200, 300 people have bought your product, now we're on the path to proving that you actually have a concept that actually works. Now, sometimes as an entrepreneur, when you're looking to start a business, it's not always about you proving the concept. There may be other businesses in the arena that you're going into that have already proven your concept. Well, there's so many barber shops potentially that obviously people need a haircut. So, people need to get haircuts. You might see a taco stand, a lot of taco stands in the community. Well, the concept's proven that people eat tacos because there are a lot of taco stands. Now, the more numbers you see, the more competitive it is, but still, somebody's already proved the concept. So now that's not really as hard for others to understand what you're doing when other people have already proven the concept for you um, in the past. So sometimes it's not necessarily proven that the process or the item or the concept is possible. It's more as can you execute on your plan of action to actually make the concept work for you and your investors or whoever else you want to bring into the company. So a lot of times it's just not proving that something can actually get sold, which you can look online and go to the malls or drive down the street and see what's being sold every day. The proof of concept is can you actually do it? And that's where I guess the rubber meets the road as a successful entrepreneur. Anybody can say I'm gonna be an entrepreneur, I'm gonna do A, B, C, and D. The proof of concept really comes into play now when you're actually proving to people that you can execute on your own strategies to make that actually work and hit those numbers and deliver the service and the products and get people coming back. That's how you truly prove your concept overall to, on your path as a successful entrepreneur. I'm about to ask a crazy question, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Did you know that being an entrepreneur is like running a race every day? And if you didn't, then I'm going to prove it to you. Because every day as an entrepreneur, you are chasing or racing against or trying to get to what's called the break-even point. So, um, the intent of any business or any entrepreneur endeavor that anyone in our community has is really to make money, to make a profit. But before you do that, you first have to reach the break-even point, meaning you need to make as much money as you've spent to get your proof of concept up and running and to get things sold. You have to hit the break-even point. So being an entrepreneur is consistently chasing the break-even point. So let me ask this quick question. What percentage of entrepreneurs do you actually think reach a break-even point and make a profit every year on average? So take a few seconds, throw that into the comments. Want to see how many of the people in our community get this right. So again, what percentage of entrepreneurs actually break even or make money annually as a small business owner? All right, that should be enough time for you to think that through and then jot it into the comments. And so, for those of you who said 70%, you would be right. 70% of entrepreneurs, small business owners, either break even or make a profit every year. Now, again, so some things to look at when you're looking at this number, this 70%. 70% means a combination. So people who have just made enough money to break even or they made over. The big number, though, you also got to look at is that means 30% of small business owners that don't break even every year. So as you're driving down the street and you're looking at all these small business owners, these storefronts, 3 out of 10 of the businesses you see aren't breaking even this year, or every third business on average, around that amount. Every third or fourth business that you see, they're not making money. They're not breaking even every year. It's very interesting when you think that through a little bit, right? So, thinking like a successful entrepreneur means you're going to be chasing that break-even point. That needs to be top of mind as you're coming up with the ideas for your business, as you're launching new products and services, as you're considering new ventures, all the other concepts that we've shared or talked about earlier in this webinar that you have to take into consideration. But at the end of the day, that's what, at the minimum, as successful entrepreneurs, they're chasing a break-even point. As I work with my clients in my coaching practice who have an entrepreneurial mindset, my question is always, let's reverse engineer this. Or, so it's not a question, I guess, more of a statement. Or it's an ask. It's an ask, yeah. It's an ask. Let's reverse engineer this. So, how many widgets do you need to make in order to break even every day? How many services do you need to provide to break even every day? So instead of chasing a break even point for a year, I encourage you or entrepreneurs and even the people in our community to actually break that down to daily. You know, how many products do you need to sell daily to break even in your business? To make it worthwhile, you going into the store, to opening the doors, because that's what you should be chasing every day. And if you're hitting that number every day, then hey, at the end of the year, you should be profitable. If you're at the minimum focused on hitting your break-even point every day. Now, again, it shouldn't just be break-even, right? Because you're just making enough money to keep the doors open. But if we're chasing a break-even point every day, then you're going to make money And if you're hitting it, let me just say, you're not just chasing it, you got to catch it too, right? You got to chase it. And if you're chasing break even every day and you're hitting or exceeding that goal, that means you're going to make money every year in your business. And you won't be in that 30% we talked about, every third business or fourth business you see that's not making any money. All right, we have reached the final concept that we're going to focus on today. And I think it's quite appropriate that our last concept is return on investment, ROI, something I'm sure a lot of people in our community have heard about before, but we're going to touch on it to wrap up because it's extremely important. Because again, thinking like a successful entrepreneur means you're being aware of the return on investment in any business that you do. So basic concept, right? We just talked about breaking even. So before you can have any return on your investment, you have to break even. So if you spend $100 on a business to get it up and running, then, in order to break even, you have to make $100. Pretty simple, right? Um, but let's say that, you actually made 150, but you invested 100. Well, that's 50% ROI, which is fantastic, right? Um, and if you spent 100 and made 200, now we're at 100%. Now I'm going to ask this question. It's pretty simple, but which one of those would you prefer? Of course, probably the 200, right? Um, but return on investment is huge because you really want to make sure you understand, what you're going to achieve in the opportunity that you're going into. We talked about, again, opportunity costs, which are huge, right? And break even points, which we just talked about. But all this stuff really is getting to the point of, hey, what is going to be your return on investment? Really to determine, is it really going to be worth running this business? And so return on investment is huge because, as many entrepreneurs know, people have an entrepreneurial mindset. They're always looking for different opportunities. And at times you can't take advantage of all opportunities. So how do you determine which one is the best one or which was the right one for you? If it's about the numbers, then return on investment is huge. Would you rather spend that $100, invest that for every $100 and make 150, or would you rather invest $100 and make 200 on every 100 you invest? Again, you probably want to double your money, but without understanding the return on investment on any business venture or product that you're trying to launch, how are you making the right decision on what to invest in your time, and your money, and your resources? So you really have to understand the return on investment on each thing you sell, service you provide, business that you run or operate, because you might be able to use that money somewhere else. Now, in this picture, our guy has a big stack of gold bars in his wheelbarrow that he's considered his return on investment. Now, different people have different ideas of what's important to them. There's a lot of things you can do with those gold bars. I'm sure he's not going to go home and sit on them or drive with them and things of that nature. So my question to you before we wrap up is, if once you understand return on investment and you identify the right concept, what are you going to put in your wheelbarrow? What are you going to do with that gold? So what would you put in your wheelbarrow once you reach your return on investment? It's better to know what you want to put in your wheelbarrow before you get started, because this is what this is all about. You are going to be trading off time, your energy, your own investment capital to put some things in your wheelbarrow. So make sure that what you're doing allows you to fill up your wheelbarrow with all the things that you want. Because at the end of the day, being a successful entrepreneur is obtaining the things you want. And those things are going to be in that wheelbarrow that you'll be pushing along with you. So, what are you going to be putting in your wheelbarrow as you move forward as a successful entrepreneur? In wrapping up today's class, just want to make sure we hit those concepts one more time because we hit some great ones. And again, all these concepts are the ones that successful entrepreneurs have to keep top of mind as they move forward in their endeavors and along their entrepreneurial journey. The first concept, due diligence. Have to make sure you're doing the right research. Become a student of the game we talked about. Make sure that you're taking advantage of the right opportunity. Next, investment capital. Have to figure out how much you need and where that money is going to come from to get this business up and running. So, it takes a lot of money to make these great ideas happen. Opportunity cost. There's only so much time, money, energy that you have. So with that being the case, have to make sure that you understand what opportunities you're giving up in order to take advantage of another. You also, as an entrepreneur, along your successful path, you're going to need to prove your concept. Proof of concept is important if you want to get additional uh, customers or investment and people to invest in your business. But it also works, as I just mentioned, to get additional customers because hey, once one person likes it, then two people like it, then maybe four, then eight, exponential growth. But in order to do that, you have to prove the concept to people, and then show that it actually works. Next is the break-even point, which is really the minimum amount of products or services you have to sell in order to just make your business make sense, just to get back to even. So the break even point, what is that? And you should be really chasing that break even point daily, not weekly, not monthly, but daily. Your activities should be leading to you breaking even on a daily basis for you, your business, and any other entrepreneurial endeavor you're chasing. And last but not least, what all this is about, your return on investment. All this work, effort, energy, sacrifice you're going to put in play to be an entrepreneur, to grow a business, to chase your dreams, it's all to fill up the wheelbarrow we talked about. So again, what is going to be that return on investment? What are you doing all this for? What are you putting in your wheelbarrow? That's going to be your return on investment. Also, I don't think you thought you were going to get away without having to do one more activity before we wrapped up. So I shared the concepts with you. Go ahead and drop in the comment section which one of these concepts resonated with you the most today that we shared, which really talk about setting you up as an entrepreneur to be very successful. At the end of the day, these concepts are ones that all entrepreneurs need to cover, just not all execute on them, in the right way or keep them top of mind. But in my experience coaching entrepreneurs, you need to keep these concepts top of mind. So, which one resonates with you the most, or which one do you need to keep top of mind the most to help you on your path and your journey to becoming a successful entrepreneur? Drop it in the comments now, and we'll go from there. It has really been an honor for me today to lead the first session of the Ready, Set, Launch Mastermind Community's annual summit. This masterclass on the right mindset to become a successful entrepreneur really is something that I enjoy doing, especially sharing with my clients, but also sharing with a community of entrepreneurs like the one we're building here at Ready, Set, Launch Mastermind. If you want to learn more about the Ready Set Launch Mastermind, or how to get involved, or hear about our next sessions, which will be taking place over the rest of the week at the same time, please feel free to reach out to me via email at simscoachgroup@gmail.com. If you want to contact me directly via phone or text, feel free to do so at 312-600-8076. And then if you want to learn more about what I'm doing as a coach, consultant, and community builder for entrepreneurs, please visit me at roddricwsims.com. Currently, I am hosting Evolve and Elevate weekly sessions online with particular entrepreneurs to help them evolve their business practices and elevate their income. So if you'd like to learn more about how I do that, definitely visit the website and sign up for one of our sessions, or book a private appointment with me to learn more about what I do to help entrepreneurs. With that being the case, thank you for joining us for this first session. I look forward to our next sessions and supporting this community and all entrepreneurs even more. With that being said, again, ready, set, let's launch.